Hello students. In previous class we discussed about major sectors of an economy. Major sectors of an economy that includes households, firms, government and external sector. In external sector we discussed exports and imports. See, the domestic country may sell goods to the rest of the world. The domestic country may sell goods to the rest of the world. These are called exports. And the economy may also buy goods from the rest of the world. These are called as imports. So when a country purchasing goods and services from other country, that is called as imports. When our country, like domestic country, selling goods to other countries like rest of the world, that is called exports. So these are also playing very important role in the developing economy, like both developing and developed economy. Okay, next and last topic is macroeconomics different from microeconomics. So macroeconomics completely differ from microeconomics. How? So already you know that very well. Micro means small, macro means large. Microeconomics studies the small parts of an economy. Macroeconomics studies the large parts of an economy, and microeconomics especially studies about single units like a firm, an industry, a household unit, like this. But macroeconomics deals with the large parts, like large segments, that is aggregate demand, aggregate supply, general price level, national income, aggregate employment, etc. So you know that already this you studied in first chapter of microeconomics. Already you discussed. See, as method of study. Method of study means like microeconomics studies the individual parts of an economy or parts of the economy for the purpose of intensive study, like detailed study. So that's why it is called as microeconomics, called as intensive study. Intensive study. Price of for example, price of commodity, behavior of a consumer, behavior of a producer, functioning of a firm, like etc. See, method of study, which method it is called? It is called as intensive study. Intensive study means brief, like a detailed study, not brief, that is detailed study. Microeconomic studies the individual parts of the economy, that is for the purpose of intensive means detailed study. For example, particular price of a commodity, price of a particular commodity, behavior of a consumer, behavior of a producer, functioning of a firm, so etc. And this method of studying individual units, the method of studying individual units is called slicing method. Microeconomics is called as slicing, like small parts, slice. Okay, macroeconomics deals with the aggregates of the economy. Aggregates, like it's lump of the individual units. It is studies only, microeconomics studies only small units. Okay, but macroeconomics lumps up the individual units. Lumps up means combining all or gathering all or totalized aggregate. That is only the macroeconomics lumps of the individual units. It can study part by part, but it can study lumps of the individual units together, into big lumps. Individual units, that is lumps of the individual units together into big lumps for the brief study. Microeconomics is an intensive study, macroeconomics is a brief study. So it is called as detailed study. Microeconomics called as detailed study, macroeconomics called as brief study. That means it can study entire picture of an economy, or it can gives the entire picture of an economy. It can study economy as a whole. Macroeconomics studies the economy as a whole. For example, national income, per capita income, employment, aggregate employment level, aggregate price level, economic growth, like this it can study. Which one? Macroeconomic study entire economy, microeconomic study small parts of an economy. It is called as slicing method. It is called as lumping method. It is called as lumping. How? See, the method of study, the aggregate called is lumping method. Macroeconomics is lumping method, microeconomics is intensive method. So microeconomics called as slicing method, Like macroeconomics is called as lumping method. Microeconomics is a intensive study. Macroeconomics is brief study. Macroeconomics is brief study. Microeconomics is intensive study. Okay. Different economic agents. So in microeconomics, each individual economic agent thinks about its own interest, and welfare. For example, consumer tries to get maximum satisfaction at a lower price. Always the consumer, to get satisfaction, he should be purchase goods and services. While purchasing, the price should be minimized according to him. Always the consumer thinks like that. Price should be minimum and satisfaction should be maximum. That is, consumer tries to get maximum satisfaction at lower price, but producer, as in microeconomics, producer tries to get maximum profit at minimum cost of production. Cost of production means the expenses incurred in the production of a product. The expenses incurred in the production of a product. To produce a commodity, how much expensing is held, like going on, that is called as cost of production, production cost. So the producer, in microeconomics, the producer always wants to maximize his profit at minimum cost, and in microeconomics, a consumer always tries to get maximum satisfaction at lower price. But in macroeconomics, economic agents are different. How different from the individual economic agents? Because microeconomics, they always thinks about themselves, but macroeconomics always thinks about welfare of the country. For example, see, state authority like government, Reserve Bank of India, Security and Exchange Board of India, SEBI. So these are all macroeconomic agents. Reserve Bank of India, government, and SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India. These are all macroeconomic agents, because macroeconomics always thinks about welfare of the people, wealth of the nation, but microeconomics thinks about themselves. Means a consumer always tries to get maximum satisfaction at lower prices, and a producer always wants to get or maximize the profit at lower cost or cost of production, less cost of production. So but macroeconomics always thinks about welfare of the people, development of the country. So macroeconomic decision makers are, that is, state authority, it's nothing but government, as Reserve Bank of India, RBI, and Securities and Exchange Board of India, that is SEBI. So these are all macroeconomic agents. Next, equilibrium analysis. Equilibrium analysis means, see, microeconomics studies the partial equilibrium in the economy, such as consumer equilibrium. Consumer equilibrium means consumer how he is getting the satisfaction at a lesser cost, and producer equilibrium, and equilibrium of particular firm and an industry, Actually, there is a lot of difference between firm and industry. Firm is a production unit, even industry also production unit. So firm is a part of an industry. Industry is a group of firms. Firm is part of an industry. Industry is group of firms. For example, see, there is a biscuit industry. Just imagination, there is a biscuit industry. Those companies which are producing biscuits, for example Britannia, like other companies are there. You can take the cement factory, just cement industry, take it as an example, like a cement industry. So under this there are so many companies, Ultratech, Birla Super, like Ambuja Cement. So there are so many different companies. So different companies are called firms. Each company called as firm, but totally we can say like that, cement industry. These firms are working under the cement industry, like industry. So firm is a part of industry, Industry is group of firms. Firm means a company. Anyhow, So macroeconomics studies the general equilibrium, microeconomics studies the partial equilibrium. So microeconomics always studies like consumer equilibrium, producer equilibrium, like a particular price, a particular commodity, like this. But macroeconomics studies the general equilibrium in the economy, such as equilibrium in the general price level, market equilibrium, equilibrium in aggregate output level. So like this always it studies which one, the macroeconomics is differ from the microeconomics. The macroeconomic agents are Reserve Bank of India, government, and SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India. So as like as, so microeconomics, you know that very well, it studies small parts of an economy. Microeconomics studies large parts of an economy. So always microeconomics thinks about themselves. Macroeconomics thinks about welfare of the people. Okay, so like this macroeconomics different from the macroeconomics. So macroeconomics has deep roots in microeconomics. Macroeconomics has deep roots. Deep roots means macroeconomics completely depends upon the micro to get information, that is depends upon the microeconomics, because it has a study of aggregates effects. Even micro also depends upon the macro. So one is depend upon another, but macroeconomics is different from the microeconomics. Okay, up to this first chapter of macroeconomics, that is introduction to macroeconomics. In next class I will give the notes. Okay, thank you.